Hello, Johnny Delgado here, and today we're going to talk about scanners. So, you're learning programming, and you've made some great programs already, but they're not that interactive. You want to give your programs some input, some data that you can then use and manipulate. Let's say you're a teacher and you want to store grades and try to figure out the average and put the average with the student's name. How do you do that? Well, I'll tell you. Today we're going to talk about the scanner class. Scanner is just a programming library in Java that allows us to type in information and have our program read it. So to start off, we need to create a scanner class instance. To do that, we write scanner and give it a name. Here I've named my scanner S. And then we say equals new scanner. New says we're creating a new instance. And then within the parentheses after this second word scanner, we write system.in. This tells our program that the scanner is going to receive input in from the system, the computer's system. This is what's going to allow us to type on the keyboard and give that information over to our program. So let's try to run it. Oh no, something's wrong. Let's see. Unresolved compilation problem. Scanner cannot be resolved into a type. We hover over that and what's wrong? And the first quick fix is import scanner. And then it says something about java.util. Well, this is dealing with a library. And whenever you need to import a library, you need to go up here, as you can see in line 3, and type in this case, import java.util.scanner. And this just says, hey, you're on Java. Somewhere out there, specifically in java.util, there's a library called scanner. I want to use that library in my program. All you really need to know is when you want to use a scanner, put this line, import java.util.scanner, right above your class. And then that'll pull in the information. And now let's try to run it. And sure enough, our scanner's been created. But it doesn't do anything. I've given it a prompt here that says, please type the student's name below. But I try to type something here and hit enter. Turns out it did work. I forgot I had that part uncommented. Let's check down here. So I say string name equals s.nextLine. This is creating a variable that's a string and saying what that string equals to is whatever line I've typed in. Let's try that again, but with a more reasonable name than that random string of characters. Let's say Johnny. And then it says name is Johnny. That's this line right here that says system.out.println, name is, end quotes, plus name variable, and that variable name has been set to Johnny, so it's going to print out name is Johnny. So that's not that exciting. We can put in a name and that's great and fine. And we can do stuff with that name, like put it into other strings. But what about turning this into some more useful data? What if we want to input Johnny's grades? So that gets us onto this section here, where we're going to ask the user, what are Johnny's 3 grades? And here I've just created a little for loop that goes through 3 times and says grades and collects all of the grades as a sum, and we're going to turn that into an average later. But what you need to pay attention to is this s.nextInt. This says, from the scanner, look for the next integer. And remember, integers are whole numbers. So let's try a simple instance, and I'm going to uncomment this section that gives us the average here that just takes our sum and divides it by 3 because we're only ever looking for 3 grades. Our average is just going to be whatever that sum is divided by 3. You can make this more robust by making it a more variable amount of grades, but for this purpose, we're just going to keep it at 3 grades. So we try to run it. Student's name, again, I'll say Johnny. What are Johnny's 3 grades? Oh, I should have put in a space here. What are Johnny's 3 grades? Let's say 100, 100, and I'm not perfect, so let's also say 99. And sure enough, the grades average to 99. Quick aside, if you remember when we talked before about variable types, it's outputting this average as a double. it's going to just round it down a bit. So that's why we see 99.0. Um, because right here it's treating grade sum divided by 3 as an integer, and integers truncate. But that's beside the point. What happens if we give it not an integer? Let's try running that. Let's say, what are Johnny's 3 grades? Let's say, 10, and it knows we need another integer, so it's going to keep waiting. I'm going to type in some letters. Problem here. It's only accounting for integers, so this is an issue. When you're using nextInt, make sure that your user is only putting in integers. So let's try that again. And let me show you a different way you can input those numbers. You can put in, let's say, 50, 90, and 20. And notice how I'm putting them all on different lines. You can do that too, because when you're using nextInt, it's just searching for the next integer. It doesn't care about are they all in one line or not. You can separate them with spaces or just put them in new lines, but they all have to be integers. And sure enough, it averages those out and gives us the integer approximation of it. So now let's ask for one final step. Let's say, hey, the grade average is 53. What's Johnny's letter grade? And I'll have to make it better for that because a 53 average. So I just have another prompt. What is Johnny's letter grade? And because we've already seen the average, the user can remember that. You type in the letter grade and it gets s.nextLine in the same way that we asked for the name, and it says check for this line, and whatever that line is, that's going to be the string that represents our letter grade. So let's try to run that. We say Johnny again. Let's go 100, 99, and see, I can do it some in the same line, some in different lines. I wanted to show you some different options, and 80. And here we go, and it says the grade average is a 93. I just made the A. What's Johnny's letter grade? Oh, what's that? It shouldn't have given me both prompts at the same time, and I can't type anything in right now. What's happening here is when we say nextInt, way back up here when we're collecting the grades, it's only extracting the integers from the scanner input. It's not actually taking the entire line like what you see when you ask for s.nextLine. So there's basically a floating enter key. This final string, it's not that Johnny's final letter grade is nothing. In the program's mind, Johnny's final letter grade is a new line. You can think of it that way. There was a hanging new line there, and it just said, oh, sure, that's fine. Let's make that the string. So we actually have to do something called clearing the scanner to get it to run. And all we have to do there is run s.nextLine. We don't need to set it to anything or whatever. It's just recommended to use s.nextLine to clear the scanner whenever you use a bunch of, or any amount of s.nextLine or s.nextInt or s.nextDouble or s.nextCharacter. Not either take the whole line or take part of the lines and then afterwards clear the scanner. So let's try running that again. This seems confusing, but the point to remember is when I don't have s.nextLine clearing the scanner, it does not let me input my next line because it just assumes it's already been given a line from before. So let's try running it again. And then we'll put in the 3 grades, 100, and I just got too cocky and I failed the last one. Average of a 73. What's Johnny's letter grade now? So see, now I can type it in. Now it's stopping here at the prompt of what's Johnny's letter grade, and it's letting me type in a letter. And you can add, I'll pretend it's a little lower and give myself a C minus so you can see, because it's a string, it doesn't have to just be one character. And that's why I made it a string rather than a character. And we hit enter, and it says Johnny's final letter grade is a C minus. I'm not so proud of that, but I am proud of this tutorial video. So hopefully, to recap, you've seen the importance of clearing the scanner without it, it'll just blow past it next time you ask to take in a new line. We've talked about how to create an instance of the scanner class, how to import the scanner library, how to get a string that is just the entire line of input, how to get specific integers, and it doesn't have to be integers. There are many next commands. You can say next double, for example. At least I think you can say next double. Okay, you can say next byte. No, next double works. Oh, grade sum is, so I could change, if I change grade sum to double, I can put that in as doubles. There are different scanner input commands. You don't have to just be taking in integers. We've talked about how to clear the scanner. So when you're doing next int or next double, it flushes out everything in the scanner. So then later on, you can say once again, s.nextLine and extract an entire line. So that's the scanner video. I know it's a lot, but you can do so many things with scanners, and it just adds a level of interactability to your program that you can't get without user input. So I hope you learned something. I hope you had fun, and I'll see you in the next one.